What do you know about air? Except that it's invisible and still moves the earth. What do you know about water? Except that it finds its way. What do you know about fire? Except that it starts with a small spark. And what do we really know about time? Except that it ties everything. Now bring them all together and mix some flour in. What happens now is magic that moves, finds its way, starts with a spark and bakes itself to glory. We are talking about magic that happens in the kitchen. Come experience magic. Hi everyone, and welcome to I Want to Bake Free. So I have realized that when you bake free, you gain a lot more love, a lot more happiness. So this here is my happy place, my kitchen. And today, I'm going to invite all of you in to join me on this adventure that I love taking, called baking. In every episode, I'm going to start by baking different kinds of delicious bread. Why bread, you may ask? The aroma of fresh baking bread in your kitchen is possibly the best aroma ever. Then we will make an exciting baked dish, that is the main course. And finally, let's create lip-smacking desserts. Today I'm going to bake one of the versions of poi and salt dome chicken. We're going to make a dessert called the magic chocolate flower. I'm going to start by showing you how to make something that I met when I turned 20. It's called a poi, and it's a wonderful little bread from Goa. In a nice clean bowl, put some atta. I'm going to mix this with maida. Into this dry yeast, pour some warm water. And to activate it, what I need is a little bit of sugar, because sugar is food for the yeast. Now into our maida and our wheat flour, a little pinch of salt and some ajwain. And some water. This is the base of the Goan poi. All right, our yeast is now activated, and now I'm going to add this to my poi. This is now ready. I'm going to pour this out, and I'm going to give it lovely, lovely massage. Collect it together, and you just pull it together. We're going to leave it here to prove. I wish I knew some Goan songs to sing to it. And now I'm going to cover this with a nice wet muslin cloth. Well, I do know one Goan song, but I don't know all the words. It goes something like this. Maria Pitashe, oh Maria Pitashe, which basically means Maria's dad. And now I don't know why I'm talking about my dad. Yes, because he actually introduced me into making bread first. Maybe that's why I thought about him. My poi dough has risen and has doubled in size. Get it out of here. Take the CO2 out of it. Massage it a little bit. And now all I have to do is shape it and bake it. So whenever we bake, we always have to preheat our oven. So my oven is already heating, 200 degrees. I'm going to bake these pois for about 10 to 12 minutes. Let's put a little oil in it. So what I'm making for you is a very, very basic Goan bread. But there are different variations to this. There is catricho, which is scissored bread. Then there is kankara, which is like the bangles of a woman. And it's normally eaten during tea time. And then there is the other one called undo, which is a little more thicker and is used to eat with that amazing Goan curry. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this for a second proving. The yeast starts eating up all the sugars that are in gluten, and it creates a little more carbon dioxide inside this bread, which is why we have that lovely hollow in the middle of this poi. Give this a little water wash. So as you keep watching I Wanna Bake Free, you will realize that there are many different types of washes that we will be doing to our breads. We're starting with the most basic of it, which is with water. Now, over this, add some white sesame and black sesame. Just drizzle a little bit of oil on it and a nice wet muslin cloth over it. Leave this to proof for at least 10 minutes. Our poi is proved, it's 10 minutes, it's ready to get into the oven, 200 degrees in a preheated oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. Lovely. This poi looks delicious. Now that my poi is out of the oven and it's so garma garam, all I'm thinking of doing is smearing some butter on it. Well, this what we made today is one of the versions of poi. And the one which is most common is the little hard brown one that you see all over Goa. But of course, that has a much longer fermentation process that probably you may not be able to do at home. And so we've shown you a quicker and easier version. So try this first, make this first, eat this first, and then we will toughen it up for you. So do take a look at the recap and come right back.
To make your Goan poi, in a fresh bowl, add 600 grams of whole wheat flour along with 450 grams of all-purpose flour. Add some hot water to 1.5 teaspoon of dried yeast. Add half teaspoon sugar to help it activate faster. Salt to taste, 1 teaspoon ajwain, and add water. Mix it all together until it turns into a solid dough. Now, take out your dough onto the tabletop and knead it until you can't feel any knots in it. Proof the dough for 20 to 25 minutes or until it doubles in size. Once proofed, take out the dough and beat out the carbon dioxide. Knead it some more and break it into small pieces. Flatten it out and place it in an oiled tray. Give it a water wash. Add black and white sesame seeds as garnish. Drizzle some more oil and leave the dough to proof for another 10 to 15 minutes. Bake it in a preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius for 10 to 12 minutes. Your fresh hot poi is ready.
So, welcome back and you're baking free with me, Maria. So when my son Zeke happened, I decided कि let's संभालो the चौका चूल्हा and feed this child something. और एक चीज़ मैं रोज़ बनाती थी. That is now quite a favorite with me. It's called salt dome chicken. So what I need for my salt dome chicken is basically a chicken that has got all its skin intact. So that's the first prerequisite that you need to make this chicken. This skin keeps all the juices intact. Then we're going to add another layer to it. Then we're going to put it into the oven. So there are a few steps. They're very simple. So just follow me. In a nice clean bowl, I'm going to show you how to make the covering or the layer that goes over the chicken that is infused with salt. So what we need is some maida. This is sea salt. This is a prerequisite for this recipe. So if I'm going to add a cup of coarse sea salt, I'm going to add 2 cups of regular salt to it. So what the salt does is, it adds flavor to the chicken. It forms this sort of a little oven around the chicken. It infuses the chicken with the right amount of saltiness. So now we're going to add some egg. Into this, I'm going to be adding some water. Okay, now I'm just going to take all this dough out onto my table and just bring it together. So here's my chicken. I am just going to put my hands underneath the skin of this chicken and make a little space for the flavorings that I want to add into it. I'm going to be putting some butter into this chicken. Just see that your butter is nice and frozen. For some garlic, more flavor, some lime. Now that our chicken is buttered and beautiful, I'm going to get down to making this dough. I need my weapon of choice. Just trying to make this a little big so that it covers my entire chicken. Take this little chicken, put it into the center. I'm going to drizzle this chicken with a little oil. I'm just drizzling it with a little salt and lots of pepper. Now I'm going to pick this dough very carefully and lay this over chicken, like so. Our chicken is ready to go into the oven. It's going to bake for about 50 minutes to an hour at 200 degrees centigrade in a preheated oven. Happy baking. Preheated is a very, very important word. A bake will not turn out the way you want it to, in the time that you want it to, if your oven is not at the correct temperature. What I have here is some nice hot oil infused with rosemary, with thyme, with these red chilies and garlic. Pour it onto this lovely salt dome baked chicken. Just take a good look at the recap and come right back and come quickly back.
Salt dome chicken. For the crust, add 1.5 kg of plain flour, 300 grams coarse sea salt, 600 grams regular salt, 2 lightly whisked eggs. Cut the mixture until it's nicely mixed. Add water as required. Take it out onto the tabletop and knead. To prepare the chicken, first, insert 40 grams of cold butter cubes under the skin of the chicken. Now add 4 cloves of thinly sliced garlic and a thinly sliced whole lime. Drizzle 1 teaspoon of oil, salt for taste, and 2 teaspoons of pepper. Roll out your dough into a thick sheet. Now, take the prepared dough sheet and carefully cover the entire chicken with it. Bake it in a preheated oven for 50 minutes to an hour at 200 degrees Celsius. Take it out of the oven and break the salt dough. For the dressing, take 200 ml of oil and add rosemary, thyme, garlic and dried red chilies until it boils. Add the hot oil to the freshly opened chicken and serve.
What is life without mithai? And what is mithai if it's not chocolate? मैं in fact अपनी chocolates को बच्चों से छुपाकर अपनी अलमारी में लॉकर में रखती हूँ और अपनी jewelry को freezer में. Today we're going to make a dessert, the magic chocolate flower. We start it with making a brownie. A little bit of butter and some sugar. We need some maida. every time you bake a cake, you will either have baking powder or soda bicarb, and they really help your cake to rise. I'm going to also add cocoa. We're going to leave this here because you want to activate the flour and the baking powder and the cocoa. So you're going to add 1 egg at a time. In baking, every time you introduce one new ingredient, there is something different that happens to your bake. And you immediately see that the texture changes. Vanilla extract for that lovely chocolate flavor in the brownie. I'm going to be adding chocolate flavored syrup. Now I'm going to give this all a good whisk. Add our dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. And I'm just going to fold this. Now our brownie batter is ready, and it's time for us to put it into a baking tin and bake it in our oven. This is parchment paper. What I've done is cut the sides diagonally, and now into this goes my chocolate brownie batter. Just push it to the corners of your baking tray. This brownie of ours has to bake at 180 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. And now we come to the delicate part of this yummy dessert. It's making the petals for our magical chocolate flower. The first thing I'm going to get out to the table is our acetate paper. So we've started this whole process by melting the chocolate. So you bring it up to 40 degrees, and then for you to work with it, you need to bring down the temperature of this chocolate to about 28 to 30 degrees. Which means you temper the chocolate, and when it is well tempered is when you can actually work with it. So basically, when you're tempering chocolate, you need to temper it either on a marble top or you need to temper it on a stainless steel top. Marble is cool and it helps in the tempering of chocolate, and so is steel. So if you want to know if your chocolate is tempered, you basically take a little. It's holding its shape, which means we are now ready to put it back into our bowl and to start shaping it. This has really cooled down so well that when I put this into the other chocolate, it is just going to bring the temperature to exactly what I want. This is the base of my flower, and now the petals. This has to become a nice hard base. I'm going to put this into my fridge. It is now absolutely ready for me to shape it. So I'm going to start cutting my petals. This is my petal stencil that I've cut out in order to make these petals. Very carefully, I'm going to roll this onto this pipe. We are putting the sellotape on the acetate paper. The chocolate is on the inside. The reason we have done this is because now our petals are going to be turned like this, molded on this PVC pipe. And now I'm going to be putting this into the freezer so that I get these beautifully curved petals for my magic flower. Before I start with my crème anglaise, I'm going to get my brownie out of the oven because it is baked. It is beautiful, and I'm going to leave it here to cool. So now I'm going to start with our crème anglaise. Our crème anglaise is basically like a base custard. You have eggs and sugar that need to be whisked and kept in one separate bowl. I'm just going to give this a nice whisk. In another nice non-stick, on not too high a flame, you take some milk Pour it, add to it the vanilla stick and then some cream. This looks ready. Take this vanilla out. Take this off the fire now. And in a slow, steady stream, pour this onto my egg yolks. That's simultaneously going to cook the egg yolks and make this a nice, yummy custard. Just remember to do this really carefully and really quick. Add this back into my pan. I'm going to put this back on and on a low flame, cook this custard down. This texture is now becoming a little thicker. I'm going to leave this to cool now. So the first thing I need to do is put my base. This goes in the center. Now I'm going to take my cooled brownie cake and just cut into it. This is my whipped cream. Just going to arrange my strawberries. I come to the intricate part of this magical flower. Just very carefully cut the sellotape away. I'm just going to peel this acetate paper off. You basically unmold these petals one by one. So I'm going to start with my first petal. Very carefully put the base into this chocolate and then fix this here at the end. And now I'm going to put some cooling spray so that this chocolate just stays. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of precision, and yes, it's very, very time consuming. This magic flour really has magic qualities. I'm going to go right ahead and feed it to me. Do take a look at the recap and come right back.
Magic chocolate flour. For the brownie, in a clean bowl, take 150 grams of butter, 300 grams of sugar, mix it well using a blender. In a separate bowl, take 300 grams of all-purpose flour, half teaspoon of baking powder, 300 grams cocoa powder. Now add 4 eggs, blend it well, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 100 ml of chocolate syrup for extra flavor. Now add the dry ingredients to the wet ones and gently fold it into itself. Take a baking tin and place a sheet of butter paper over it. Gently add the batter to the tray and bake it in a preheated oven at 180 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. To make the flour, you'll need 2 sheets of acetate paper along with 500 grams of tempered compound chocolate. It needs to be 28 to 30 degrees for you to be able to work with it. Once your chocolate is at the right temperature, first make a nice thick circular disc which will act as your base. Cool in the freezer for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Then spread some more chocolate onto another sheet and cut out your petal shape using a petal stencil. Roll your acetate sheet around a PVC pipe and stick the ends with a sellotape. Freeze this for 10 to 15 minutes to make your creme anglaise. In a clean bowl, whisk together 75 grams of sugar and 5 egg yolks. In a non-stick pan on a medium flame, add 250 ml of full cream milk, 1 vanilla bean, 150 grams of cream. Carefully add the liquid in a steady stream to the egg yolks. Now add the mixture back into the pan on a slow flame and cook the custard down. Place your base in the center of your serving plate. Cut into the brownie using a mold and place it in the center of the base. Add whipped cream and strawberries as topping. Now carefully demold the petals of the flour and use some molten chocolate to stick it to the base. Pour the piping hot creme anglaise on the side and watch the magic unfurl.